What does it mean to take the digital leap? By now, we all know that the digital age is upon us. This era of global connectivity and innovation brings untold opportunities for organizations that are willing to go digital. So, it's not so much about knowing anymore. It's about doing. Is your organization doing enough? Taking a leap can be scary, but it can also liberate and empower you. Going digital is not so much about apps, code, computers, or data science. It's not so much about technology as it is about people. It's about a desire to meet the needs of the community you serve. And it's about transforming your community into a digital community. Why? Because digital is data, and data allows you to see your audience in a way you'd never thought possible. It enables storytelling and connection in a way you never thought possible. Going digital allows you to be more human. It's about open-mindedness, flexibility, and a willingness to learn. It's about taking risks, becoming more agile, and learning how to experiment. The rewards: taking the digital leap can help you create an organization that is sustainably successful, adapts on an ongoing basis while always looking forward, allowing you to reimagine what your business could be based on what your community needs. You already have the digital potential. Are you ready to tune in to the digital age? Are you ready to take the digital leap?
Hi, and welcome to this Digital Leap event for Community Radio. It's so good to have you with us today, and thank you for your time. I'm Jonathan Lumley, Head of Clients, Channels and Markets for Fabrik. Today is really exciting for us, and hopefully, as we take you through today's session, you will come to understand why it's important and an exciting opportunity for you as community media, that you've joined us today, and the offer that we will be making as an organization to you is unprecedented. We understand the challenges that community radio and radio face, and have not only recently looked at this, like over the past year, but certainly the challenges over the past decade. We have industry experts and thought leaders who have contributed to this webinar to give their views and their insights, and some even endorsing and giving you the confidence that this is an offer that you can be sure and be proud to be a part of. We would love your feedback, and you are more than welcome to leave your comments and questions in the chat panel on the side of this webinar, and we'll answer back either now or after the webinar. We have three parts in today's event. Firstly, we look at the similar challenges all community media face, from experts like SABA Secretary General Cecil Nguveva, Radio Days Africa organizer and radio consultant Tim Zunkel, Voice of Wits manager Shwesha Ku, and our own media veteran and journalist, as well as business development and strategy executive Phil Malefe. And we also have the Chief Executive Officer of the Seychelles Broadcasting Corporation, Berard Dupre. They all highlight the challenges, but offer the solutions they can see available for community media. The second part of the program looks at a fascinating case study of one of the largest community radio stations in the country and in KZN, now rejuvenated and on a new digital journey with our Fabrik platform, a product you can have through this program, yours to work with, own, and make money from. Israel and Lubanzi have shown great progress, as you will see, and you can emulate their success story. And lastly, we present our Digital Leap offering to you. I think after you've seen the evidence of its success, you will not only want to try it, but own it for yourself. We now have excerpts from our industry thought leaders around the importance of community radio and how they could succeed in the digital era.
Well, radio was founded initially as a national service to serve national interests and national programs. Now, community radio is local. It serves a specified locality. It speaks to local issues. It addresses local matters on the ground. Church issues, schools, health services, and it speaks to all those issues that affect a community. And importantly, it speaks to the audience in the local language. It is important because it is closest to the people. It understands the people it serves. And community radio is the soul of the community. It expresses their values, their aspirations. It cries with them. It laughs with the people.
There are a lot of challenges in the industry. It's this lack of funding that we have. And while we want the best equipment, best quality audio, we essentially want to sound as great as any radio station that's broadcasting, either at a commercial or a public level. But our challenge is that we're not able to generate as much revenue through advertising as a commercial station would. So one of our biggest challenges is the fact that you will get to secure the equipment at the start, perhaps, of the project, and then it becomes very difficult to maintain that and upgrade and move with the time because you're not able to get as much funding. Our second challenge is the fact that we aren't able to generate revenue through advertising. It's also often very difficult to monetize our platform because it's often so community or interest targeted that brands aren't really trying to get into there. And unfortunately, unlike Ukhozi, which will sell millions of listeners, we're selling a very niche market that we're saying we're speaking to young, vibrant people. And these people you'll find in Johannesburg, you'll find in Braamfontein. And so we'll have to, because of that, we'll have to connect with a brand that needs to speak to these people. And it's very difficult, for example, to say, well, come just to us. So you'll find that banks would rather go to bigger radio stations, for example, so that they can reach more people instead of speaking to this very niche market. So that's one of the challenges that we have in how do we sell this audience that we speak to that's captivated, that's got power to spend also, but it's not in the mass numbers of what you'd have with other stations. And I think one of the challenges that we do have as community and campus radio stations, we don't invest a lot in audience researchers or trying to get more out of our audiences. So we'd have communications with them. We'll use WhatsApp, whether it's WhatsApp for business or however way it's been set up. We don't know much about the people we're speaking to. So we don't know how old they are. We don't know what their interests are, the kinds of brands they want to get into. So yes, sometimes for us, we'd run a survey at the start of the year, which aligns with all week. But beyond that, we don't get into breaking down that data and saying, okay, this is what we know about our audience, over and above just the demographics and the psychographics of the composition of it.
Community radio from the very beginning has always been hamstrung for a variety of reasons. It doesn't matter if you're running a big radio station or a small radio station, you still have a technical requirement. Infrastructure is a huge thing, and you see it up in Africa as well. And more so now that you've got massive power cuts. When the power goes off, community radio needs to stay on. They need to talk to their people. Internet has become a huge driver, and all these things cost money. And then there's a people element, and people also cost money. And as much as volunteers are a great thing, they're difficult to manage. And then community radio is also hamstrung because there's rules and regulations, and not many people are well versed in how to do these things. There's a lot of legalese. There's a skill set and a level of financial understanding that you're required. And often broadcasters don't come with that background. They've got a passion for talking to people. They've got a passion for sharing news stories. And it's often the good broadcasters who become station managers or people involved in the operational scenario. And they crash and burn, basically, because they don't have a lot of that background. And then there's a technical element. Keeping a radio station on air requires people to understand what's going on. You need to understand electricity. You need to understand the broadcast chain and audio. You need to understand the internet. There's so many moving parts. And I think what we found is in the beginning, there were a lot of practitioners who tried to do it all, and it was easier to do it in the 90s and in the 2000s, but it's becoming more and more challenging as the Internet of Things start developing and technology starts developing and the broadcast spectrum starts changing, these stations are under even more pressure than they were previously. I heard an interesting statistic from people who work in community radio that it basically said, let's assume there's 250 radio stations on the air, community radio stations licensed and broadcasting. 2/3 of them are technically bankrupt. So, I mean, that's a huge challenge. But do we take these guys away because they can't pay the signal distribution? Who ultimately loses out? The community loses out. And it's not only about an audience, it's about the greater community. So I think there's a lot of room for these radio stations in terms of training and development, in terms of technical development, in terms of relationship with municipalities, local government and national government, and then between themselves. And on top of that, in the commercial industry. So with people who provide equipment, software solutions, training, knowledge and insight, and then with the legislature. So ICASA, I think, also has a big role to play in ensuring that community radio is sustainable, it's healthy, that the models that work, and the support structures behind it.
If we could access information about the audience that we speak to and we knew exactly what their interests were and how to best connect with them, that would be great currency for us. Even when we go to advertisers, it would mean when we speak into a particular bank, we tell them that this is our listener, this is their interest, this is what's challenging, and this is how you can plug into that. So that would be something that's very important for us. Where we are now, what we know is the general demographic information. And I'm guessing that any brand could get that from their own social media platforms or their customers and how they connect with them. But as a medium of radio, what you essentially want to know is, if you are there, your existence is connecting communities, is what makes this community unique. And I guess, sadly, for us, how do we sell them to advertisers? It's not a bad thing. We're not selling them like that, but we do need to generate revenue. So we need to sell our audiences to advertisers. There's a lot of opportunities for us to generate revenue. I think one area we have not explored in terms of monetizing is our, what you'd call our digital assets. So we know that we've got a substantial number of people that are listening. But our strategy has traditionally been selling us as a station that's based in Braamfontein and in Johannesburg. So how do I position someone that's listening to us from PE or from Cape Town? I think it's a time for us to shift the way we position in community radio station, that yes, we are community and we are located in a particular place or in a particular community, but we are beyond just that community. And this is largely because of this growth in digital media and people streaming. And we also have a substantial following on social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And so how do we monetize this? Also, I think if Facebook is able to make so much money with an owned platform, how are we as radio stations not able to build a platform and an audience and then be able to monetize that? Because what we are seeing is that, yes, we are in this age of user-generated content, and essentially users don't mind sharing content for the benefit of Facebook, Twitter, and all these other platforms and get nothing. But what are we doing as media owners and media practitioners to essentially take advantage of the fact that people are on these digital platforms and are ready to share their content? And there's definitely an interest for people to connect with other people. And I think what WhatsApp has done with introducing these new privacy settings and rules is that it has shown us that in the long run, it will become very unsustainable for us to, as media owners and media practitioners, to continue relying on a platform like Facebook to give us what is what's basic and necessary for us to make our business. We want our listeners to communicate with us. So why should we depend on Facebook to enable us to be able to do it? Why not build our own platform to be able to achieve this? So a platform that will allow for us to have a peer-to-peer, communication platform is something that's very important. And also we do have, we're seeing there's a lot of change in how people consume news, for example. So you do want to have a medium that's able to, where you are able to share stories and update them as regularly as possible. Because we also know that the way we are able to monetize on this digital platform is people need to come in as often as possible onto the platform, connect, get stories, get this, and which means that there's a need for also on our end to be able to generate that much content as much as people visit. There's a need for us to advance technologically. There's a need for us to have platforms that are specific to us and that suit our needs. If I'm able to connect with my audiences via a communication platform on in one place, and they able to access our podcasts, listen to our radio shows and comment on them live, that gives us so much more. And then I can be able to measure how often they're listening, what they're listening to. Then I'm able to present something more tangible to the advertisers. And also, if we are able to say, well, sign up, tell us more about yourself, then we address the other problem of, well, we know so much more. We know which brands they like. We know which cars they're driving, so we can offer them so much more. We know where they live and how they live. So the more the data, obviously, the better for us. And this obviously comes with a digital solution that's specific to the needs of this industry that we broadcast in. And I think it can all come in one box that just has everything.
Once you have a better way of integrating your brand with technology, it's easier to start speaking to big money. So big money doesn't sit where a lot of these guys sit. But big money are interested in accurate reporting. They're interested in hearing the product. They're interested in seeing what the brand looks like. When your brand is able to approach an international donor organization that does a lot of work in this space, and you can say, well, we can offer you this stuff. Allow me to show you what our infrastructure looks like. Let me show you a campaign we did for a local greengrocer with the spot log and the flighting. And here's an example of the copywriting. And here's the spot log. And it was all done via our software tool. We can offer you feedback in real time within 24 hours. I think that's an important thing. And then I think the other thing with technologies, and we mustn't underestimate the communities in which community radio stations operate in. These communities are all becoming more and more digital savvy. So they also live in the Internet of Things. It may not be behind a laptop computer, but what we do know is the use of cell phone and cell phone technology and mobile is massive. Digital platforms allow us to integrate users that are touching base with our media platforms. It allows us to speak to these people. It allows us to see what they like. And we can start asking them questions. Community radio often gets flooded with messages coming in, but nothing ever goes out. And as soon as they can start tapping into the ability to speak to audiences in different places and start asking them questions of when you go to the greengrocer, what do you buy? What are you prepared to pay? And you can start aggregating this kind of information. Community radio can then go back to advertisers and say, well, we ran a campaign for greengrocers. We can start aggregating data in the background based on the fact that we've got passionate audiences who like to talk to us. And I think there's a really unique opportunity and relationship for smaller radio brands to tap into things that bigger guys have been doing for a long time, but it's always cost a lot of money. Technology and software takes that barrier away, and it gives us access into a world which they never had.
This is a platform developed by eMedia with the support of Microsoft to make sure that radio and community radio in particular can become part of the digital wave. And the beneficiaries of this platform are most importantly people on the ground, community radio listeners. The people on the ground are enjoying the benefits of this platform more than any other stakeholder because it allows them to be connected with their station, to be connected with their community.
My name is Cecil Yarurako Yenguova. I am the Secretary General of SABA, which stands for the Southern African Broadcasting Association, which is a body representing all the broadcasters, the free-to-air broadcasters, the conventional state broadcasters in Southern Africa. Given the challenges of community radios around the continent, given the tight budgets that they're actually operating on, given the small focus that they actually have, I think one of the best opportunities and the benefits on the Fabrik platform is to reach out, help connect whoever from wherever they are with the rest of the world. I have managed to lobby the SABA executive to endorse this platform as one of the best platforms that has actually ever happened on the African continent.
Hello, my name is Bera Dupré. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Seychelles Broadcasting Corporation, the national broadcaster of the Republic of Seychelles. The first time I heard of Fabrik was at the SABA annual general meeting in 2017. I immediately got in touch with eMedia around deploying such a platform to the Seychelles. I have to say the rollout was relatively fast and painless. The eMedia team was just a perfect fit in terms of how we would have wanted to work with collaborators. They were efficient, understanding, and our team really hit it off to make it the most impressive rollout that we have had. What the Fabrik platform have done for us since has been nothing but short of amazing. We, the Seychelles, is only 100,000 people. And to have an application that is catered for a community like this has been a perfect fit for us as a national broadcaster. It has helped to connect our teams with the public. It has helped to enthuse our radio team who perhaps at some point felt that they were being left behind by the digital transition. And we have continuously grown our audience engagement, our downloads on the app, and the amount of capabilities that this app can do has continued to evolve thanks to eMedia's continued input and development of this incredible platform.
The digital revolution that allows a station to make that digital leap from backwardness into the bright future that is beckoning. A station that was primarily confined to one region is suddenly, overnight, transformed into an international radio service.
Imagine your community radio had every digital tool it needed to help reach and engage your audience. Stay watching as we give you details of an exciting offer to community radio.
Thank you to all of our thought leaders for their insights and time around the state and promise of community media. Now we'd like to take you through a fascinating case study of one of the largest community radio stations in the country, based right here in KZN, Izwe Lubanzi, and their success story.
Community radio is owned by the community, operated by the community, and is for the community.
I have a belief that doesn't matter how much advertising you can bombard people on the internet and everything, people still need a place where they can go to for actual trustworthy information.
Even though there's 8 million people that are tuned into community radio stations every single month in South Africa, it's still seen as the poorer cousin to commercial or even public broadcasters.
The commercial stations are biased in the sense that they finance, right? So they have to serve the interest of the financier. But this institution and many others like it, it's financed by the community.
It's not driven by profit, it's driven by issues.
Just real people giving information to other real people.
Community radio stations are limited by their FM transmitter. So they have one transmitter of a couple of watts, which would only broadcast to over 100 kilometers.
If we're trying to hook an advertiser, they want to have the largest possible reach. And of course, we're a terrestrial station. So there's a lot of limitations in terms of reach and the ability to have a mass audience. Now you just have the 100,000 or 200,000 people that do tune into your station. But you, as a community radio station, don't get that audience. And as a result, you're not going to be able to appeal to the advertiser for that audience.
But as soon as a community radio station's ability to go onto the internet, the web, and further in terms of their app reach, suddenly it opens up to a far greater audience, worldwide in actual fact. So Fabrik is a product that solves 6 problems for a radio station. So it solves the live streaming issue, plus of course it's the podcasting aspect of it, along with the in-app messaging. And that's pretty important because it creates its own community within the app. Then you've got the data and analytics that come from that. And because of that, you also get digital revenue. Lubanzi in KZN as a community radio station only has a local broadcast of about 100 kilometers. But from that, they garner 140,000 people that listen to the station on a cum basis.
We service real-time content, fresh, trustworthy information. That's who we are.
We are the station that brings hope, love, and difference to the people.
KZN's leading non-commercial radio station.
Lubanzi's initial reaction when they received the app from us was, wow, why us?
Why community radio station app? Why?
Most commercial radio stations are still very, very much stuck in the past. They're scared to embrace a new technology, and maybe that's part of the problem, is that we've had so many different technologies in the last 20 years, from the website, which all radio stations suddenly had to have and adopt and have a live stream on. Then you've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, the next social media that is now needed to be embraced, understood, rolled out with a strategy. None of the data belongs to you though. When you've got a product like Fabrik and you've got your own app where everything integrates with one another, you've now got your own ecosystem that you're able to look at your audience and monetize that audience and communicate with that audience.
I was very happy because I'm a competitive person. I want to compete against the best. And this app sort of gave me the indication that, hey, we have the potential to play in the big field. The lockdown came, people were more at home. And that gave us an opportunity to sell our app because people are at home now. They're not going to complain about data because you're not using your money for transport anymore. That was the tipping point for us.
They realized that their audience were actually ready for this more than the radio station was ready for it.
We started off simple. We produced campaigns that had a direct impact in your pocket as a listener, but also in your life generally as a family person.
So when suddenly the audience and the public are adopting something that you've got and are lapping it up and are communicating on it and are using it and engaging on it, suddenly you realize you have a very, very powerful tool.
People want value. Simple. So if you provide the value, people will buy into the concept.
Now, with them using Fabrik, they've got 25,000 downloads, so that already equates to a large portion of the community.
Once we got them to adopt and use the app, now we can use the sample size of audience members that we have to draw real-time statistics that we can then use to sell to advertisers. So I can look back and tell you that, look, on my app, I average 30,000 streams a day. I can provide that for you. It's the back end that gives us that power. So having that at our disposal allows us to keep monetizing it. The WhatsApp and the Facebooks and everything, they're all good and dandy. You can get the billion audience. But if you don't have control of that platform, then you can't monetize because it's somebody else's platform. I tell every single client that comes, they don't expect me to off the bat say, yes, I'll use WhatsApp because it's not my platform. Fabrik is mine. The Fabrik, the app, the company e-media, the support system, the infrastructure, the functionalities, it's all so good that it put us ahead in a race that our competitors were unaware was even being run.
It's an incredible success story for us to see that they are now going out to hire their own digital sales team in order to bring more revenue into the radio station. And this just from a bunch of volunteers.
We started at Izwi Lubanzi with one person selling and developing and planning and putting together everything on the app. So now a couple of months later, we're able to add another one. Those two come together, they put in similar amounts of effort. We've grown, our revenues show it, the brand presence shows it. I think we just became a better brand. You can stream from anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world actually. We've got listeners in Russia, we've got listeners in the United States, we've got listeners in Canada. The users have so much respect for us now. Our competitors are constantly watching us, watching what we're doing next. I bet you they probably downloaded the app themselves.
Izwi Lubanzi are an incredible radio station because they've managed to do what you need to do when adopting digital change. You adopt the product, you engage with the product, and then you monetize. It's an incredible success story for us to see that they've embraced these three aspects.
A lot of the media agencies work with all the radio stations, but we sit in meetings as the radio stations. And Izwi Lubanzi is always the example they use when they talk about the standard of feedback they want, the standard of the output they want, the engagement. You know, they want to see the proof of the engagement. They want to get proof of flighting. You know, radio stations sometimes take months to send proof of an advert having flighted. But I got EchoCast, so I do it on time. We don't always call people to ask for work. We're not that desperate anymore. We got the Fabrik platform now. You come to us. We took a digital leap, and that's the difference now that people are getting to feel.
Well, I think there's the evidence of the success, the Izwi Lubanzi success story and the great progress that they have made. Lastly, we present the whole point of this webinar for you today, our Digital Leap offering to you.
Is your community radio station ready to take the leap? Fabrik will be selecting and awarding qualifying community radio stations a 12-month digital transformation program worth a total investment of 10 million rand. The successful applicants will receive full access to the Fabrik platform technology, training and skills transfer, ongoing support services, as well as consulting advice. In a year from now, your community radio station will be a completely transformed, modernized broadcast. You could be having more meaningful engagements with your own digital community. And best of all, you could be enjoying sustainable revenue growth through a range of new advertising opportunities that the Fabrik platform provides. Apply today to see if you qualify and get the skills and resources you need to empower your station and in turn empower your community. The Digital Leap program is brought to you by Fabrik and is supported by Saba.
I hope you've enjoyed and really benefited from the knowledge shared here today. Based on our experience working with some of the country's most innovative radio brands, we've shared data-driven insights and shown how you might be more ready than you think to take the next step in the evolution of your tech-powered journey. This is the Digital Leap program, designed to take your community radio station and give it the digital tools it needs for success. There is a link you can click on right here to apply to the program on this webinar, or you can just leave a message in the chat and we'll get back to you and guide you through it. The Digital Leap program will only be offered to a select number of community radio stations that apply. The Fabrik platform includes all elements within its suite of tools, and training will also be provided. Every station that is successful will benefit from the product. I hope we've convinced you enough to fill in that application form and get your station started on your digital leap into the future. Thank you for attending today's webinar.